Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is a street legal CT70 clone. This engine is all warmed up. The first thing we're going to do today is change the oil. Well, we're going to drop it right now. We'll let it leak for a little while, do some other modifications, and then we'll fill it back up. It's a 17 millimeter right there. All right, so coffee tin fits right under. I think the rest is self-explanatory. Just when I thought this was done dribbling, I went ahead and turned the bike slightly upright. It then started to come out ever so slightly again, so I threw a little piece of plywood under the kickstand. I'll let that go, and now we're going to move on to one of the modifications. Hopefully both of them work out. This one I'm feeling pretty confident. It's going to be the handlebars. Where do you start? I guess I'll try to get as much of the controls off. All of the controls off. And see how that grip goes. And then I'll start working on the handlebars themselves. I don't think you loosen the knob fully and remove it. I think you have to get up underneath and work a couple nuts to release this thing somehow. Let's see if I can't get the drain plug and crush washer. Oop, wrong way. Without dropping it down in the canister here. So close. There it is. Ooh. No, it's actually not that bad. Let me go set this plug somewhere safe and clean off my hand. Righteous. These urban antlers come right off when you remove the knob after all. That's good because it really makes getting some of these controls off a lot easier. This broken clutch lever itself wasn't too bad. I had the length on the cable, but I didn't on whatever that other one is. What would that go to? When you pull the clutch, I could understand if that was like a brake lever. I don't know. We'll leave it for now. I don't think that went to this. I wonder if that's like a ground wire. And they just brought it up to the clutch lever. Whatever, man. We'll figure it out eventually, right? I'm gonna take this other antler off of here, and then we'll see what we're working with. for this unique bridge riser thing. 14mm locking style flange nuts. 2 of them. That's what's holding this riser on. I already have one of them off. I'm now working the other. It's a little bit tight, but I'm getting in there with the regular wrench and I'm getting them off. So I'm trying to avoid removing whatever this bracket is here. I think it holds this. No, this assembly is held on by these bolts. Oh, is that a turn signal frame? Is that what that is for? I mean, no kidding. Yeah, that's what that is. So, I didn't have to remove the turn signal frame. I'm leaving it on there. You get that other nut, and we'll own that riser. Got it. Found this little piece of plastic inside too. That must be from the original wrapping. Shipping and all. There's my 2 nuts. I'm going to put this all back together and keep it for now. Let me clean this up and I'll grab a set of universal risers. For whatever reason, these risers have a really long mounting bolt. Here's the set that I'm going to use. I just replaced it with a shorter one. I have the bottom portions of these risers partially installed. They're not tight, but the nuts are pretty much all the way on there. Another thread and we'll be all the way. Now I'm going to add the handlebars and then the caps. With the handlebars and the caps in place, the risers are now locked so they can't spin. I'm going to grab my 17mm wrench and tighten both of the nuts on those risers completely. While I was down here, I just went ahead and replaced the oil drain plug. There's our old oil. Maybe we'll take a closer inspection later. Doesn't matter. We're changing it anyway. Back to the handlebars. Risers are tight. The caps are tight. Sit on it real quick. Oh yeah. That's a lot more comfortable for a guy my size. I can really stretch my arms out. It has a flatter feel to it. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive, but also more relaxed, and they shouldn't vibrate as much. They don't have a cross member, so they probably will a little bit, which is okay, but it's definitely going to be better than the factory setup. before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and add my engine oil. I'm using about 28 ounces of a 4T 10W40. It's just under a quart, that's all. The filler hole is tucked away conveniently behind the Kickstarter and underneath the exhaust. I just used a funnel and poured slowly. Now I just got to get the dipstick back in there. Nice and snug here. Once I start the engine and I run it through like a 10-minute cycle, I'll come back and I'll check the oil level. I don't want to overfill it. Well, this is going downhill quickly. Like, real quickly. Long of the short, literally, the handlebars. They're too tall. As comfortable as they are, it's just turning into one thing after the other, trying to fit the controls. The stock throttle, can I even get it off of here in one piece? No, I can't. I have to do it in two pieces. It's got a little nub on it, and the factory bars have a hole drilled into them. So that nub that's inside of that housing goes in that hole. There's one on the other side as well for the clutch handle, I believe. So there's that. Not a big deal, right? You just measure from the end to where the hole is. Do the same thing up here. Make a mark, drill it out. You know, set the nub. Repeat the process over there. That's one thing. Then there's all of these cables that go back down into this rat's nest that harbors itself inside of this headlight housing that needs fixed. The crack is a little worse than I thought. It actually goes all the way around that mount. I'm gonna have to fix that anyway. I didn't really plan on doing it yet. So, anyways, these wires are too tight going back down into the main harness. Picture all of that stuffed inside behind the headlight. These would plug into the speedometer, and then this plugs into this thing. It goes back up to your light control, starter button and kill switch. Those are kind of important. You also have this wire for the brake, so that throws the tail light on. That one's got all the length we need. Whatever this one is on the clutch side, it ends up going down to two wires. That one is a little bit on the short side. The brake line is not completely taut, but it's definitely too taut. You like to see that, not necessarily with a loop, but you know, some slack. So I'm gonna have to find another set of handlebars that's going to be shorter, right? And here's another issue. When you find the shorter handlebars, say like a BMX style, here's my MM80 ones. Yeah, those risers are pretty far apart, so you're gonna run into an issue where, you know, the clamps on the risers might end up in the curve section. That's not going to hold correctly. It'll probably break those. So yeah. Looks like we're gonna go back to the Urban Antlers. Straight up. I don't feel that this warrants extending these wires for this harness, this one, or ordering another brake line and doing that too. So I'll get it back to where it was and we'll just keep moving forward. I have something else we can add to the factory handlebars. At least one side anyway. To get back on track and headed in the right direction again, I went ahead and used some of this blue thread locker gel on the two nuts that hold the risers on. It was a little bit loose when I took them off. These things still aren't perfectly rigid. There's a little bit of play. I might be able to work a rubber grommet into this situation somehow. We'll take a look at that later on. I have everything set on the right side, sort of. Over here on the left, we're gonna add a couple things. First is going to be a new clutch lever. The factory one took a hit, the perch is broken, and before it breaks all the way, I'm going to go ahead and replace it. I have your straight up clutch lever, and I have this other one that is the same as the factory job, where it has this wire connected to it. The only thing I can think that does is somehow, if the bike is in gear and you pull the clutch all the way in, that sensor would allow you to use the starter. Whereas if you were in gear and you didn't have the clutch pulled all the way in, maybe you couldn't. I don't know, I haven't tested it, so I guess maybe that's something we can do later on. Let's see if the wires match up and we'll go with this unit. I think the handles are the same though, so that's not a bad one to have around. Oh dang, this sucker's long. We got something on that replacement and the factory job, probably by a couple inches. I was right on that switch and made sure that my wires were connected. It went yellow to green and black to brown. Turn the bike on. It's in gear. We go to hit the starter and Deadsville. I'm going to pull the clutch and awkwardly reach down and push the starter. Alright, so that switch relays to the starter that it thinks it's safe to start the bike. Cool. So, with that new knowledge, we're definitely going to use this perch. I'm not sure. It'd be sweet if they could use the shorter handle. The factory one looks a little bit different. In here it has like this retainer clip. I don't know what that's all about. These are set up for an adjuster here, and this one has it there. I think I can just take the adjuster off of one of these. I don't think I can hook that switch up to this model. Yeah, there's no hole in the perch. Alright, I guess I'll open this one up and see if I can get that handle on this perch. That'd be sweet. Womp, womp, womp. Swing and a miss. See that? The holes do not line up perfectly. Along the bottom there, it's like a half moon. So, if we did try to line those holes up, out of the way, the lever would be somewhere about there. It just won't, close completely. That's not good. Could you modify it? Not really. There is not a lot of cyborg meat on that lobe, so you wouldn't want to drill it any bigger. Bore it out. Your turn. There is a pretty substantial difference in the structural integrity of these two handles. I'm not saying either one of them are all that great, but one is definitely better than the other. Downside here, well, it depends how you look at it. We'll have our trusty safety switch, which, I really don't care because I don't think I'm going to be hitting the starter while I'm in gear. I'm not a noob like that. So I could just switch this right out and go with this. It's like a, I don't know, $8 unit to replace. Or we go stronger, big dog status. However, that is going to need the clutch perch moved inward. Not a big deal. We have plenty of cable, but that is going to interfere with something else. Grr. This is something else. These are universal 7/8 mirror mounts. Alright, street legal, you gotta have them. The perch for the brake lever reservoir, that has the threaded mount for the mirror already. The one that was over clutch side took off when the rest of this left the party. I couldn't find either one of those handles with the correct size mirror threaded sections, and I'm looking at these, and these are different. These are 10mm, and that's 8mm. Man, oh man, you just can't win. Let me check the mirrors. Get some of those too. Yeah, I definitely ordered the right mirrors for the 8mm mount. And I ordered these on purpose with the 8mm as well, because I didn't want to use an adapter. That's why I got the mirrors that didn't come with the adapters. It is always something, huh? I don't think I have one either. I'm gonna check though. It must have been an optical illusion from having the left mirror mounted on the right side. Turns out these are 8mm after all. See that? The kid can do something right. I'm gonna put the mount on first. Well, see, here's the thing with this clutch. When I go long lever, alright, this piece right here, alright, this has that little nub thing going on, alright, that's like a set screw, except it's not a screw, it doesn't come out. That's for that hole on this side. So that goes there, the grip goes here, the clutch goes next to that. If not, then it goes further out. Now, I don't think you want your mirror mount to be in between the clutch and the handlebars. Picture this as the mirror mount. See what I'm saying? That's not gonna behoove a guy. So, what I'm thinking is we go version L simple, and we just run that little guy and get rid of this wire altogether. Sounds like a plan. Let's see what happens. I don't even know who's winning or losing at this point. I have a feeling that I'm going to come out the victor no matter what. But here we go again with the malarkey. This is the smaller perch. Okay. That hole, it's threaded for the adjuster. We already talked about that. I'm thinking like you could just, you know, leave the adjuster out and everything would be honky-dory. Well, that hole is about the same size, but I do think we're gonna have to bore it out. If you try to bore out the small one, there's really not going to be a whole lot left on those side walls. See what I'm saying? There's not much there. I think we can get away with it on this one though. We'll take a shot. That's what has to go in. Right up until that fluted portion there. Okay, let's do it. Good thing I'm observant. You see what I see? Look at the distance from the edge of the perch where the clutch cable would go in to where the barrel is. And then look how that distance is broken up. It's longer on that one. It's longer on the perch and the handle side. So, if I were to try to bore that out and then cut this back, we would then interfere with the cable going into the hole initially. It has to go in flush. It can't go against this, you know, flat surface that would be here. This would just be like notched out. So you'd have to come down real low and you'd come close to the hole for the switch. Now, we leave the switch out, but you're still going to get close to that hole, and the way this is casted, that will not last long. This is frustrating. Well, I already own it, so that means I can modify it as well. Just barely took the threads out of the smaller perch. That's that one with no wire. Took my time. I didn't rush the bits. I don't know. I'll get the lever introduced to the situation and see if I can't stretch it out and get that cable on. You gotta be careful, the barrel has that little plastic shroud around it, so you don't want to lose that. That goes between the lever and the barrel itself. Crap. I forgot to check the distance here like I did on the big one. Yeah, it's the same. So I'd have to cut this down over here so that that could go in further and take the tension off the cable that is disengaging the clutch just from trying to pull it in place. I would require cutting a notch in the perch. I mean, technically it just has to receive that end. I think we can do it. If I go down about 1/8 inch, come in about 1/4 inch and then up, I should get it. Only one way to find out, right? I don't want to make it too weak, but at the same time, I don't know if it's going to affect it. It's definitely going to make this part shorter. And that's like a spline that is kind of holding on to the torque between the two. This is risky business. Fat Max handled that in about 2 songs. I tapered this back. That way we could go up flush and then have just a little bit of wiggle room. I'm trying to avoid this bottoming out on this. In hindsight, I could have left a little bit more meat on the bone. I'm coming up, looks like about fat 1/16, maybe a short 1/8 shy. I kind of want to leave everything I can. Well, at least we know. Live and learn. I'll try to get it on and then make an adjustment down here at the barrel. Got it, coach. And boy, did that feel good. So I wouldn't take any less out of this portion, but maybe leave a little bit there. I don't know. It's my first shot. I'm pretty impressed. When this was apart, I couldn't exactly like pinch the 2 ends together, so I mean, it's got to be better than this, you would think. I'll get it on and we'll take a look at the mirror mount next. With the rest of the left side controls in place, you can now see the importance of the mirror mount placement. The clutch has to be next to this housing. That way it doesn't bottom out. If we move it back, it hits. If you try to put this in the middle, it might hit that too. So if we ran the long handle and we didn't want it sticking out here, we would have to pull it way over here. That would place the mirror all the way to the inside, right about there. Yeah. What are you trying to look at? Yourself or the traffic that might be behind you when you're stopping or making a turn? I know what I'm looking for. I'm going to tighten the clutch on, add the grip, and then I think the mount is going to go on from the front. I don't think I can swap those bolts around either, so it is what it is. It'll look nice from the outside looking in. This is mint. This actually added to the Urban Antlers. Here's what I'm talking about with the heads of the bolts. Over on this side, you can see the threads. Over here we have the heads. It's only going to bother a guy like me. And to tell you the truth, nothing's really bothering me right now. I'm sitting pretty comfortable. These things grow on you. The mirrors are perfect. I'll be able to see everything behind me. I'm going to tighten these down. That way they can't move. They still have adjustment here. I'm digging it. That doesn't look half bad either. The next modification is going to be down low. We're going to try to change these foot pegs out. I have a set right here. Ain't bigger pegs, but they're at a slightly different angle to mount, so I can't just change them out. The kickstand is attached to a load that's on that foot peg bracket. I'm gonna have to find something to keep the bike upright, and I'll go ahead and remove the 4 bolts. That hold this on. Yep, that'll do. I just put the kickstand in the upright position and then propped her up. I'm going to climb underneath and grab those 4 10mm bolts. And then I'll take the entire foot peg bracket out and we can compare it to the new one. Oh yeah, it's that time again. Good and hot in here. Here we go. These are the new foot pegs, and those are the ones that are coming off. All right. The frame itself is a little bit different. These don't come up quite as high, and the foot peg is much larger. They have a nice spring system to them, similar to the factory job. They both have a healthy snap. We don't have this section anymore. That looks like it was for another style kickstand. You could probably do this out universal for some sort of you know, like scooter style with the two legs that lifts the back wheel up. So this is going to be lighter. The kickstand mount is in roughly the same spot, I think. We'll find out. This one is at the bottom of the curve. This one looks like it's at the top. Oh well, they're sort of at the same angle. I don't know if you can tell looking at them like this, but if that was sitting flat and the other one was sitting flat, they're somewhat maybe in the same direction. Hey, it's just like everything else. You gotta try it and then make your decision. I'm gonna switch the kickstand over. Not sure if that was supposed to have a nut on it or not. Random washer. I think that was just on the floor. Alright, I'll swap them over. So, that's what it changes. There's way too much tension on that spring. I'm gonna have to get a longer one. I don't know if that's something I can get at the hardware store or not. That's gonna pop off on its own, I think. It's kind of dangerous. $5.29 down at the hardware store. It's not the strongest spring in the world. It's definitely more than a bicycle kickstand. A little less than your average motorcycle. It's got some big hooks, so I don't think it's gonna just come off. It did take quite a bit of pulling with my vice grips to get it up and over. It's just not quite as, you know, heavy duty in the coils. It's close, but not quite there. It's better than trying to put that on again. And it's definitely better than nothing. Since I might have to source a slightly tighter kickstand spring, it might wiggle a little, but it shouldn't fall down while I'm riding it. For the money and the hassle, it'll get us by. I'll just find one slightly longer. Yeah, slightly longer than the one that I took off originally. Alright, so since I have to do that, I didn't use any Loctite on these 4 bolts. I did add a lock washer to each one of them though. There's definitely a little bit more lean going on here. It's not tipping over though. It should improve if we turn the handlebars. Yeah, that'll be okay. Best part, look at those foot pegs. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's try the other side. I could make a small adjustment to the shifter. I can use it though. Maybe we'll take it off of the splines and see if we can caulk it up a little bit. It's just a little 10mm bolt that feeds up through the bottom and clamps the shifter onto the splines. Alright, I already made the adjustment. That's about where I was. I'm just above level with the foot peg. That way. Put my toe on it and get under it. I could actually come up just a little bit more. Yep. Put that bolt back in and tighten it up. Win some and lose some. It's always a give or take with these things, especially when you're trying to reuse parts from other projects. I could buy a new set of handlebars, I suppose, but this thing isn't even completely functional yet. Mechanically, she's pretty sound. Electrically, let's just say things are a little bit off. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. I want you to stay. I want you to stay.